Hi there, Hilal. So you're working really hard. Great. I'm very happy to see that. Let's take a look at what you wrote in this set of essays. Okay, people spend less time at home. What are the causes and what are the effects? This is an interesting one because look what it says. The effects on individuals and society. So you have to include both of those in your answer. Let's see if you actually did that. In the modern era, the amount of time spent at home by most people is decreasing with each passing day. This essay will discuss the reasons of this established trend and the effects on society and the people themselves, okay? This is what I was just saying. So you need to indicate here and throughout the essay that you're not going to just talk about society, but also on people themselves as individuals, all right? In the modern era, I already said that, sorry. There are many reasons linked to decreased amount of time spent at home. Firstly, most of the people have 2 or 3 jobs in order to provide for their families because of the increasing prices of commodities. I'm not really crazy about that word commodities. I see a lot of people writing in their essays. It's not a terribly natural word to use here. Increasing price of cost of living, increased, yes, not the increased price of cost of living, but the increased cost of living because of increased prices of necessities. So those are much more natural sounding words rather than this word commodities. These jobs take a huge toll on the personal lives of people, resulting in less time being spent at home. For example, there was a documentary broadcasted on the National Geographic Channel, which concluded that people take up multiple jobs to cope with increasing pressure of providing for their families. Therefore, it is the need of the hour for many people to take multiple jobs to provide for their children, and this results in less time, not lesser, being spent with their loved ones. Secondly, today, most people have easy access to facilities like eating out, watching movies in theaters, and going on adventurous trips, in contrast to the past, because their branches have increased in numbers. What do you mean their branches? Do you mean the availability of movie theaters and shops and restaurants? I don't think the word branches is quite right here. Basically because their numbers have increased, or because of the opportunities for this type of recreation has increased, but not branches. To illustrate, the food chains, cinema houses, and adventure parks in Dubai have increased in numbers as compared to not few, few has a negative meaning, so a few decades ago, which has swayed people away from homes. Therefore, the reasons for less time spent, with a T, at home include easy access to recreational activities, and as such, people like to spend time at these facilities. All right, fine. You know what? You missed another reason though. You forgot the thing about the rising cost of living. So that's something I would have said. Instead, I would have said, therefore, the reasons for less time spent at home include increased cost of living and easy access to recreational activities. That is a more accurate representation of what that paragraph was about. All right, moving on. The outcomes of less time spent. Again, it has to be spent because less time that is spent. That's essentially what you're writing here. It's a reduced relative clause. And so you need to use the past participle spent. So the outcomes of less time spent at homes are manifold. Firstly, children are suffering from this trend as less attention is being given to them, so they are indulging in activities that are hazardous to their health. There was research conducted by WHO that children who become drug abusers, often lack parental guidance. Secondly, the health risk to millennials with an S are increasing. People are becoming obese owing to eating junk foods throughout the day because they're spending less time at home. All right, there's something missing here. So here I would have liked a full stop and then a for example. Okay? There was a documentary telecasted on the Discovery Channel which highlighted that people in USA are becoming obese at an alarming rate. The conclusion drawn at the end of the documentary was that people are eating junk foods for all 3 main meals of the day. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because time spent at home on average has decreased in recent years. Hence, the upbringing of children and the health risks are some of the effects of decreased time spent, again, at home. To conclude, the causes of decreased time spent at home. All right, you've used this expression now several times. I'm going to need you to find some sort of a synonym for it. You could have said less time in the home, more time spent out of the house, but I think I've seen decreased time spending at home at least 3 times. Okay, so try to find alternate ways of saying this. And the reason why it keeps standing out to me is because grammatically it's wrong. So here, look at this. Less time spending at home, time spending at home, time spending at home. Okay, do you see it? And there might have been one more there. But because also it's this consistent grammatical error, my eye falls onto it and I'm like, oh, he said it so many times. So please be aware of it. Try to vary up your language a little bit. Okay, let's see. Include multiple jobs and easy access to recreational facilities. While the effects of this trend are children prone to taking up bad habits as well as increased rate of health disorders. All right, it's lovely. Obviously here I am looking for details. I'm looking for things that will really help you go from one level to the next. That's why we're focusing on some of these details here. This was really, really well developed. You wrote a lot. Obviously it was over 250 words, but I'm okay with that because I felt you really developed each of your arguments quite well, really sufficiently. So I'm really rather happy with this, despite some of the grammatical feedback I gave and some other little things I mentioned as well. But on the whole, it's a good job, Hilal. So nicely done. Okay. Oh, interesting. Let's see what you wrote here. Okay, it's funny. I actually I have seen this question before as well, so I thought it looked familiar. As I have told you in both previous emails and in error corrections, video corrections, you don't need to stick to 250 words. If you are managing to write in 40 minutes, then all the more power to you, then please do so. Like I said, this was really, really well developed. If you had to get rid of anything, for me, in order to save time, you could have gotten rid of this, okay, that last sentence in each paragraph, and the same thing applies here. What would have probably saved you? Maybe a minute, okay? But I know that there's a real time crunch with IELTS, so every minute counts. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really, really well-developed essay. This is what we mean by good development, okay? So, if you're doing it in 40 minutes, then continue at this pace, continue writing the amount that you're writing. This is what I would have gotten rid of, okay? If like I said again, if you had to get rid of anything, certainly not the language here and all the sentences that talk about the actual development of the topic. All right, so let's take a look at your next set. Okay, so now let's go on to your next set of essays. Some people believe that employees should stay at the same job for the rest of their lives. Some people think you should switch. To what extent do you agree or disagree? Let's see what you said. Many people believe that jobs should not be changed throughout one's professional career. Here needed one, apostrophe S, whereas others argue that jobs should be changed at least once. I agree with this statement. Which one? The latter one? If that's the case, then indicate it, because you said this statement, but you actually said two, so make it clear which one you're referring to. You could have just said, I agree with the latter statement, partially, and this essay will argue that although the benefits of remaining in the same line of work are numerous, jobs should be changed when a more attractive salary package is being offered. Great. I actually really like that you are looking at this critically, and you're not saying, oh, 100% you should change. Or 100% you should stay, but you can see that there are positives and negatives to both sides. So that's great, and that's a good start. Let's see what you said after that. Okay, it is 5 paragraphs, so I'm not really sure why. I would have preferred 2 body paragraphs rather than 3, but let's see what you did with them. People who remain consistent with their profession ultimately progress to a high-grade position in their career. The companies like and reward such people who dedicate their whole life for their sake, and as such, it is a good norm to practice. For example, the current CEO of, you didn't have to say the Google company, you could have just said Google. It's such a household word that you don't need to say the Google company. was a regular employee who started his career from a lower rank. With time and hard work, the company rewarded him with this prestigious post, and as such, he earns, get rid of in, he earns millions of dollars a year. Hence, the rewards of being a company person and being dedicated towards one's profession, apostrophe S here, are worthwhile. Another reason for remaining in the same job is that with each passing year, the experience of the person also grows in contrast to changing jobs every now and then. Learning, the learning process, it is an integral part of any successful profession, and as such, all right, I like that you keep using as such. No, I like that you use as such, but I do feel you're overusing it a little bit. I definitely saw it in your previous essay. I think I've seen it here at least twice. I saw it here as such, and as such. So in this short span of time, I've seen it 3 times. Possibly more if I look a little more carefully. So while it's really nice, you also need to show other ways of creating and providing cohesion. Okay? Okay, so the learning process is an integral part of any successful profession. And because of this, utmost effort should be made, or as a result, utmost effort should be given. You give effort. You don't, yeah, I guess you could make effort. All right, fine. Should be made to remain in the same job. To illustrate, Jack Ma, who is the billionaire of China, okay, advises youngster. He's not the only billionaire. He's one of the billionaires. He's the biggest billionaire. He's among the, what is he, Alibaba's CEO, I think. I think so, but I'm not sure. Advises youngsters to stick to one job and learn from their superiors. Therefore, it is vital that people, not persons, we don't really use persons anymore as a plural for person. We just use people, should retain their line of work from the start in order to learn and increase experience so that they can progress. Despite the above reasons, attractive salaries should be taken into consideration, and as such, there it is again, people should be open to new opportunities to become financially sound. People can switch jobs when they are offered huge bonuses and perks in another post. Take TV hosts, for instance. The majority of them juggle between different channels because of bonuses and other benefits. The Late Late Show was Craig Ferguson on CBS, but he left when he was offered a better pay package. Therefore, it is important to consider job offers with better salaries in order to become financially sound and prosperous. To conclude, employees should remain consistent with their companies as it can lead to increase in pay packages and perks as well as an increase in their experiences for career progression. On the other hand, people should consider jobs with attractive salaries in order to become financially sound. All right, so let's talk about this a little bit. It's obviously really well written. Yeah, there were a couple little things that I had to point out that we had to fix, but nothing really, really serious. What I do want to talk about is your paragraphs. So what do I mean? I mean that here you had one paragraph in favor of staying at the same job. You had a second paragraph in favor of staying at the same job. And then you had one paragraph against staying in the same job and talking about why people should switch jobs. So you have 2 paragraphs on one side, 1 paragraph on the other side. But look at this. Band 6 in task achievement tells us, addresses all parts of the task, although some parts may be more fully covered than others. So as you can see, this isn't balanced. You have a whole paragraph more in favor of staying at the same job than you do for changing jobs. So what's the solution here? You probably should have gotten rid of one of these paragraphs, essentially. I mean, you were certainly over the word count. Or you could have condensed these into one paragraph, okay? And then you could have considered perhaps another reason why people should switch jobs. What about skills development? What about a new network, new challenges, meeting new people, and some people, they start feeling bored or no longer challenged at their company, especially if there's not much mobility. So maybe you could have, if you have time, because I see that you can write a lot of language in the word limit. you could have talked about another reason why it's beneficial to switch jobs. So the point that I'm trying to make is that when you structure your essay like this, saying that you can see benefits to both sides, you should try to balance those as much as possible. All right, rather than, writing double the amount in favor of one side and like half of that for the other side. Okay, that's my feedback there. Everything else was well done. So let's look at this crop production one. Now these are always really interesting to me because there's so little information that people then have a hard time writing 150 words. So let's see what you did. The given chart illustrates 6 types of crop production. Well, it's not 6 types of crop production. It's 6 types of crops produced. Okay? In France in 2017, the cotton production was the highest in the country at about 34.4, and as such, it was nearly 15% more than sugar, 21.9, which ranked second among the 6 types. So get rid of at and write the. Moreover, wheat contributed 20.4% towards total annual production. The percentage of barley throughout the 12-month, no S because it's an adjective here. 12-month is acting like an adjective. Was only 18%. Barley. Okay. I don't know why you said only. I mean, that's a pretty decent amount. It's all right, but you could have said here that it's about half of the production of cotton. That would have been an interesting thing to say. Now, like I said before, when you don't have a lot of data to write about, these are the kinds of connections that you're going to want to make. So rather than saying that it was only 18%, you could have said the percentage of barley in 2017 was only 18%, roughly half of the production of cotton. Okay? So these are some of the comparisons that you have to make here. There was a huge difference between the above-mentioned 4 crops with rice and corn production. I don't know why you said respectively here. I would get rid of respectively. There's that word and such again, as such again. The 2 collectively contributed just about 5% in total annual production. Furthermore, the corn production was nearly half of what? At about 1.7 as compared to rice, which stood second, not second last, second to last, I guess, in the total production at 3.5%, not being. All right, I guess that makes sense, but it's important to say half of what. So I would have preferred, instead of this as compared to rice, it makes more sense if you just say the corn production was nearly half of that of rice at about 1.7% compared to 3.5 for rice. Overall, there were 6 types of crops produced during the 12-month period of 2017. Cotton was the highest contributor among these crops with the least share by corn. Okay? Good job. I'm happy with it overall. Try finding another expression instead of as such. Again, even in this short little task, use it at least a couple of times. Use it once, but don't overuse it, because even though it is nice and sounds higher level, the more you use it, it loses its effect. Okay, so keep that in mind. You've done a very nice job overall. I was really happy with the first essay. You're doing great. Okay, so keep it up, and let's meet back here with your next set of essays.